Hey everyone, Eran Stern here with another exciting tutorial. This time we are going to use fantastic footage from Motion Designer Toolkit 6 and 7 along with some advanced technique using Mocha for After Effects, which is a planar tracking software. So combining these techniques with this footage and some nice establishing shot that I took, we are going to create this lovely funky moving t-shirts clip. Take a look. So basically we are going to take some elements from Motion Designer's Toolkit 6 and 7 and stick them on Joanna and Ohad's t-shirts as they are walking towards us on the street. There is a lot of things to cover here, so let's just start working. So in my project here, I've already imported our base shot, which is Joanna and Ohad. Let's just drag it onto the make new comp icon, and this will create a comp the same size and length. I will shut down the audio for this and just run preview it so you can see the basic video as I took it on the street. So just to let you know, this was taken on purpose as a calm and ordinary shot, nothing too fancy and nothing too complicated here. And the purpose of this is just to show you the technique. You can of course take some more advanced and sophisticated and maybe more cheerful shots and dress them on your own to create maybe something more vivid. But for this one, I deliberately took something which will help us to demonstrate the principle and guide you through the steps we need to do in order to stick those lovely graphics which we will create and build from scratch and combine and composite everything inside After Effects. Okay, so first off, I've already have here two folders, one for Motion Designer Toolkit 6 and the other one is for number 7. So I'll start with the green t-shirt here and build the graphics for it, and then we will design the white t-shirt for the girl, for Joanna. Okay, for the green one, we will begin with 007 watercolors splats from Motion Toolkit 6. I will just drag it to the make new comp icon and then just hop it over so it will be on the root of the project, and maybe rename it so it will be more organized, something like green t-shirt. Okay, so basically this is our basic splats, our color splats, and on top of this we want to add something which will create a more interesting look. For that, let's use this clip, 0013 grunge burst _a. I will just drag it on top of my clip here. And maybe also slide it over so it will just start 1 second after. So if we will run preview it, we will see that both clips are working great together, and this can be a nice establishing frame for, or establishing shot for our painted t-shirt. But we will have a problem if we will just leave it like this, because obviously we need a transparent background in order to composite it after we will create all the graphics, all the nice graphics. Unfortunately, the background clip, the watercolor splats, doesn't come with an alpha channel, but it will be very easy to generate one inside After Effects. I will show you a nice trick which I'm using all the time, or most of the times, when I have black or white background. We will start with the shift channel effect and apply it to this layer. And here we will say that we want to take the alpha from the luminance of the clip. Okay, so let's just shut down the eye for it for just 1 second. And I will also turn off the transparency guide and just show the alpha by itself. And we can see that the luminance channel isn't strong enough to generate a contrast alpha that we need. So in order to fix that, we will apply the levels effect after this one, and then make sure that you switch your channel to the alpha channel and just stretch the alpha input white until you get a reasonable alpha channel. And in order to check it, you can come back to the RGB and then again toggle the transparency grid and just play with it. this will generate a clean and precise alpha channel without leaving any black edges at the edge of the clip here. It will generate much more usable alpha channel than, for example, using the Luma key effect. Okay, so basically we've got what we need, and we can once again play it again if we need to. And this is an optional step, but I think that I will do it right away now, and I will add the hue and saturation after everything, and maybe just crunch the saturation, the master saturation, to 100%. And if you need, you can also play with the master lightness. We might need to come back to it. We will see after we will do the composite, but this will give us a much more colorful result. And basically this is it for the green t-shirt. So now we can come back to the project, and let's do the same for the white t-shirt. For the white t-shirt, I will once again start with a watercolor splats clip. This one is 0011. Once again, I will drag it to the make new comp icon, pull it over to the root of the project, and then rename it white t-shirt. Okay, so basically we have the same problem over here. We don't have transparent pixels, so we don't have to redo everything again. We can come back to the green t-shirt comp, select the clip that we already did the work for it, and let's just copy the whole three effects. So Command C for copy and Command V for paste. And maybe we want, maybe this shouldn't be so much saturated, but then again we can come back to it later and modify it as needed. But we have our transparent pixels ready to go. I mean, on transparent background, of course, ready to go. And now we can make it more happy as well. So let's come back to the project, and from Motion Design Toolkit 6 we are going to use this time 0012 Urban Decay. A very nice clip of, you know, moving train with some buildings at the background, and we'll do the same trick. So we will just start it a little bit later in time, so we'll have like a nice splat, and then the train will come out and the building will come out, and there's, you know, there's a little bit room here which we might want to fill out. So for that I will use an additional clip, this time from Motion Design Toolkit 7, this 0009 inked arrows, and just place it between those two. And then we have to maybe retime it in order to make sure that it will happen on the correct place. And of course, we also need to take this clip, maybe press W in order to rotate it. And, you know, maybe you can also scale it down if you like. So something like this I think will work nicely. So there is, the animation is happening. And once again, you have to time it so it won't start before, you know, the building is coming on the screen. So maybe a little bit later in time, and maybe a little bit lower. And let's also try a different angle. Something like this should work nice. Let's just run preview it and see where we are. I think it will contribute more to the happy atmosphere. So this is basically the animation that we have for the white t-shirts. Very nice, very organic, and very simple. What we do need to do in order for this arrow to stick until the end of our timeline is just add to it the remap effect. So under time, let's enable retiming and just stretch it maybe a little bit, and maybe make it play a little bit faster. So we'll make sure that we will see it in our main action. Let's just test it once again, just to be sure that we have the right rhythm of the animation happening, and I think that we are there. Brilliant. Okay, so now basically we have our t-shirt animation and we are ready to do the compositing. In order to do the compositing, we must use this shot in order to track the information, to track the plane of the shirt, and this task will not be done inside After Effects. I mean, you can do it, but it will probably take you too much time, because After Effects Tracker will try to look for the exact points or the exact picture frame, and most of the time it will succeed. But once again, when Ohad is leaving the screen and we have here Joanna is coming toward us, probably After Effects Tracker will be confused. And this task, to be honest, is perfect for Mocha for After Effects, which is a planar tracking software which comes bundled with every copy of After Effects since version CS4. Okay, so before jumping into Mocha and do our tracking over there, let's just prepare something which will help us to examine and to test if the results that we will get over there with Mocha is perfect or as accurate as can be. For that, I'm going to return to the green t-shirts and just make sure that my current time indicator is on the last frame, so we'll have a nice big frame with everything on it. And then I will go to composition and ask After Effects to save this frame as file. Now this will render a still frame for us, but since Mocha cannot read the Photoshop format, you must use a different one. So let's just click here, and instead of Photoshop sequence, let's make sure that we will ask After Effects to render a PNG sequence, RGB plus alpha, then hit OK, and then give it some kind of address where you want it to be. I will just place it here on my desktop and say save. Now let's hit render and do the same for the white t-shirt. So let's come to the end of my timeline. Once again, composition, save frame as file, and click on the Photoshop Word. Change it to PNG sequence. Remember, it will only render one frame because we ask it to save this frame as a still frame, and then hit save and render. And then we will have two still frames. When we will be in Mocha, we will use them in order to test our render. So we are ready. We can turn off the render queue and let's open Mocha and do the tracking over there. Okay, so I'm inside Mocha for After Effects, and let's just press on this icon, which will create a new project for us. Browse for the clip, the same clip that we have in After Effects, Joanna and Ohad. This is the plain clip, and just make sure or verify that the frame rate is correct, the pixel aspect ratio is correct, everything is in order here. So I will just press OK, and now we are ready to begin our tracking. So here we need to draw two planes around Ohad t-shirts and around Joanna t-shirts. Now I'm aware that these are not flat planes, so they are moving, and of course the fabric has got all kinds of wrinkles. But using this technique, we will be able to generate enough data in order to make the perspective change and track those t-shirts as planned or as we expect it to be. Okay, so let's just begin. I will take the X spline tool and just draw a simple shape around his body. Use right click in order to close this shape and just define a nice rectangle around this. And we want to make sure that we have enough information on the sides, on both sides, in order for the tracker to have enough data to work with. So just doing something like this will not be enough, because the texture here might not have enough details, might not hold enough details for the tracker to identify, to work with. So this will be our first layer, and if we are working in an organized fashion, let's just name it here green t-shirt, same as we did before. And now let's take a new X spline and do the same for the lady shirt here, something like this. So once again, I'm taking a little bit more pixels than what I will actually use, so a little bit more of the feet and a little bit more around the hands. Something like this should work nicely. And once again, I will make sure that I will rename this so I know what it will do. White t-shirt. Okay, now let's make sure that we will activate the perspective for both splines, for both trackers. And now I think that we are ready. So all we need to do here is basically hit this button here, which is track forward, and Mocha will track all the active layers according to the planes that we drew. So let's just wait for it to finish. So we can see that Mocha did a tremendous work of tracking these two planes according to the position that they were and gave them the right perspective. However, we don't need the tracking information after Ohad is leaving the frame over here. So make sure we will select the green t-shirt here and just trim this layer. I mean, make sure that this will be the end point of this layer, so there will be no tracking data to confuse Mocha anymore. And we will do the same for Joanna here for the white t-shirt. So I think something like this, after she's already out of the screen, we will press on the out point of the layer, so there will be nothing to calculate anymore. So we are in good state here. What we need to do now is hit the surface for each one of the layers and make sure that we will tell Mocha where we want our graphics to appear. In order to do it more accurately, I will hit the Z key and just zoom a little bit into the shot, and then just make sure that I will stick my plane. I think something like this should work nice for the white shirt. We might need to adjust it in a moment. And then we will do the same for the green one. So the graphics should be something here. And just do be careful to not interfere with the hands. I mean, sometimes you will shoot people and they will be obscuring part of the picture. So of course, Mocha doesn't really care for this, but then again, you will need to mask it in your compositing software, i.e. After Effects. So I think that this is a good point to start, and we can check our tracking here. It seems like it's holding out quite nicely. Let's zoom back by pressing the asterisk key. So I think that this should look fine. We might need to refine it in a moment, and let's just check the white t-shirt, just scrubbing it. And it looks like it's doing a very nice job. Maybe here we want to adjust it a little bit, maybe give it some kind of a different plane to stick to. Okay, so I think that this is a good place to start to check if we did a good job, and if not, we might need to adjust the track here. So how can we check it? Of course, we can use one of the built-in information over here, the logo or the grid or whatever, but we prepared something in order to check it, and it will help us to do the best examination of what we already achieved. So for that, let's hit the import, and we are on the white t-shirt. So I will navigate to the desktop and ask for the white t-shirt PNG to appear, and this will place it over here. I will do the same for the green one. So insert clip, import, and of course we can take the PNG. But of course you can also import a QuickTime movie with all the animation, but obviously we will do the compositing, the final compositing inside After Effects. So this is just to see how well the track is doing. So in order to check it as is, out of the box, let's turn off the surface, maybe also turn off and the splines. So we'll be looking only at the graphics on the shirt and just start to play the clip here inside Mocha, just to test if we did a good job or not. And for me, it looks like it's sticking pretty nicely. Let's just play it in reverse. I think we did a very good job. So right out of the box, the planar tracker gave us everything or close to everything that we need. If you do feel that you need to change, let's say you want to stretch this graphic or maybe this one, you can always come back to the surface over here and maybe play with it. Okay, stretch it a little bit. Okay, maybe lower this corner over here or over there. But I think that we are actually in a very good place. Once again, if you do need to refine it, there is an adjust track over here. And as soon as you will press it, it will place a keyframes on the master frame that you are on. In my case, it will be the first frame. And then if there are needs to do any modifications, you can always go to the frame that you think needs to be fixing and just, play with it. And Mocha will calculate the in-between frames and give you a very decent result. But as I said before, I'm very happy from what I already have. So I will return to the track and do my export tracking data from here. Now we need to do it for each one of the shirt individually. So first off, let's start with the green t-shirt and let's hit export tracking data. We'll take the After Effects corner pin with support to motion blur, which will add a little bit more realism to the shot, and we'll press on copy to clipboard. Now let's return back to After Effects, come back to our original shot, and let's drag down our green t-shirt comp. And this of course is without the tracking, so there is nothing here yet, but we will make sure that we are on the first frame and use edit paste, and this should paste the correct information, but as you see it is not in place, it's not in the right place, and the reason for it is due to the fact that this composition, the one that I'm working on, is at different size. See, this is 1280 by 720 from this composition, which is 800 by 800. So nothing to worry. All we need to do is press on A in order to isolate the anchor point and just move the anchor point to place. So let's just hide everything, Command Shift H in order not to see the motion path, and let's just scrub it a little bit, maybe up here, and I think that we have a nice opening, a nice result for the opening shirt. Okay, in order to see it a little bit better, because we are using a 4-corner effect and this usually squeeze the pixels very much, I recommend to move to full quality here. So this will give us the full glory graphics and we can get the impression if it's looking good, and it's looking very nice. Of course, we know this because we already tested inside Mocha. Okay, let's do the same one for the white t-shirt. So let's just place this in place. We are ready for it here in After Effects. Return to Mocha. Now let's select the white t-shirt over here. Make sure that we will use export tracking data. Use the same one, After Effects corner pin with support to motion blur. Copy to clipboard. Return to After Effects and the same trick. Edit, paste. And once again, we will need to match the position, so A for anchor point, and obviously we can just copy those numbers because we know that they should work fine. Okay, so we have our basic animation in place, and just to test how everything looks in this stage, let's run preview few seconds of what we already have, and I think it looks very promising. Those graphics are painting themselves on those t-shirts, giving them a whole different look and feel to the shot. Okay, once again, we are not done. We have to do some compositing before it will be more realistic. So in order to do so, we need basically to get the details of the fabric, all the lighting, all the shading into these shirts, and also maybe try to bend them according to the fabric here and there. We will use a displacement map technique, which you know I love to do, and it will add more realism to the shot. And at the same time, we will also try to blend them a little bit better using some blend mode. So first off, let's select both of the t-shirts, go under layer and choose pre-compose. We will call this one pre-comp t-shirts, and we will make sure to move all the attributes and then hit OK. So let's try few blend modes and decide together what will work best. Let's try overlay, which works nice for the green but doesn't really sell the shot for the white one. So let's maybe choose multiply, and if there is a need we can always return to the t-shirts themselves. For example, I can go back to the white t-shirt, and remember that inside here we have an effects that can control the master lighting and the saturation. So we can see if we are changing here, this effect will have an impact on the final result. So just bring back few of the colors. We'll do the same for the green shirt as well. Let's just brighten it a little bit beyond what looks reasonable, but here we can get a lot of details back. And then again, of course, we can lower the opacity, but before doing so, let's displace this shot, displace this shirt using the background that we already have. So for that, let's search for the displacement map effect, which is under the distort, and apply it to the pre-comp that we already have. And for it, let's choose the Joanna and Ohad video that we have below, and now we can start to play with it until we get the distortion that we like. But if you are doing it in this scenario, you might get into some kind of trouble, especially in the places when you have too many wrinkles, too many details. So what I'm offering you is to generate your own displace source, and this will help you to control the displacement map a little bit better. What I mean is to take the lower layer, which is our base layer, duplicate it, and then let's pre-compose it, and let's call it distort layer, and make sure we will open the new composition. There are no attributes here, so it doesn't really matter. So let's just hit OK to open it. We can disable the sound, and first of all I will use the tint effect in order to suck all the colors out of the frame. This will let me know where the displacement is happening. And remember, pixels which have a gray value will not be distorted, white will be distorted, and black will be distorted. So if you like, you can also apply the levels effect and generate a little bit more precise map. But for what I need here, just in order to be a little bit more quick, I will just add the fast blur effect and maybe choose for it a value of 4 or 3. And this will blur the map a little bit. So when we are coming back to our composition, we'll need to turn off the eye for it. And this time, let's choose the distort layer. And now we are ready to distort it a little bit more than what we had before, and we know that everything will look fine because we already took care of all the details. If you have a problem like I have here, which is that the source is cropping, just press on the collapse transformation and it will take the original pixels that you have inside this pre-comp and make sure that it will use those. So just to let you see how it looks before, this is without the distortion and this is with the distortion. You see that we get all the fine details of the t-shirt inside our graphics, and it looks much more believable. Last thing that you might want to do is maybe lower the opacity a little bit, just in order for the graphics to be a little bit more incorporated into the shot. And we are almost ready for our final preview. The only thing I want to add is a little bit more happiness to the shot, because it just looks like two people are walking on the street, and I want to make it a little bit more happy. And for that we will add 2 more clips. First one will be the 11 gritty edge. Let's just add it over here, and this will give us a nice animating edge on top of everything. And once again, you can also turn each blend mode to maybe multiply and lower the opacity, just in order to mix it a little bit better into what we already have into the frame. And once again, I want a little bit more life to it, so let's also add from number 6 here the 0018 grunge frames, which is a little bit more colorful and nicer to look at. And in order for them to look a little bit better, let's change the blend mode to add. I think it will add more happy atmosphere to the shot. And since we have a handheld camera, so everything is not really stable, I didn't took this video using a tripod, I think it will look best if we will translate, if we will have the moving of my camera, of my handheld into the shot. For that, we will have to revisit Mocha and create an additional tracking and then paste it over here. It will be very quick, I promise, and it will contribute to the overall look of the shot. So, hopping back into Mocha, make sure that nothing is selected and just create a new spline. Something like this should be enough. And of course, let's make sure that the splines is on and the surface is off, because we only need to track this area just in order for Mocha to understand and to deliver the transformation, the handheld camera. So something like this should be enough. Let's make sure that we only track this layer by shutting the track icon on both layers that we already have. And this will be our motion. So make sure to select it and just track forward. And now as soon as this is done, as this motion is in place, you can export the tracking data, but this time we will only need the transform data because we only need the position, scale and rotation information. So let's copy that into clipboard, return to After Effects, and here at the first frame I will create a new null object, rename it tracking data, and paste all the information that I have from Mocha over here. Now we don't need the anchor point here, so I will make sure that I will lose all the keyframes here and also reset it. So if we'll take a look at what we have here and just solo it, this is the data from my handheld moving shot, and we can use it in order to make sure that all the elements are working nicely together. So I will make sure that I'm at the last frame because this is the frame that I designed using my two backgrounds. Then select both of them and just parent them to the tracking null. So basically this is it. We are done. All we need to do here is make sure that inside the pre-comp we will enable motion blur, because we do need that the animation here on the t-shirt will be also affected from the motion blur, and also enable motion blur for all the rest of the layers, just in order to add the necessary realism. And that's it, we are ready to look at the final shot. For it I already added some music beds and some sound effect in order to amplify the effect. So let's just take a full screen look at what we achieved here. Well, I think this is marvelous, fantastic and incredible. And we managed to pull it very easily using a quite simple tracking technique with Mocha and After Effects. But what makes this shot really nice is those wonderful moving elements from Motion Design Toolkit 6 and 7, and also of course the music from Music Box 1 collection and the sound effects from Digital Juice sound effects library. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and it opened up new ideas and new possibilities of what you can do with your own footage using these lovely graphics. As always, I invite you all to leave a comment here below. This will tell us exactly what you thought about this and what can be improved. It also will get you a chance to win those fantastic prizes on a daily basis. And until next time we meet, this is Eran Stern for Digital Juice saying goodbye and happy walking, everybody.